Hello, gorgeous seekers, and welcome to our moon magic and our discussion around the Leo new moon on August 18th and the 19th, 2020. I'm personally excited. Obviously, I'm a Leo sun, and this is happening on my birthday. So there's a sense of true new beginning, true new chapter starting, which in my case is very much true at this time. I'm not going to get into all the details of my life right now, but there's a lot of newness, a lot of shifting pieces, a lot of new commitments, a lot of new learning. It is just one big ride on that wave at the moment. Really powerful stuff. And this new moon is interesting in so many ways. The Leo Aquarius axis always taps into our courage, into our curiosity, into deep love, both of self and of humanity and of our process. So this is very powerful energy to work with. We just had a full moon in Aquarius that was the counterpart to this moon. And so some of the themes that were coming up for the Aquarius full moon earlier this month are coming up again for this new moon with a slight different twist. And Leo energy is going to continue to be important for us as we move into 2021 and as we start having more energy pour into Aquarius, because I find that even though there's not going to be heavy hitting transits going through Leo in the coming year, they're kind of happening in other places in the sky. When the opposing sign is lit up, like it will be later this year with Jupiter and Saturn in Aquarius, it activates the opposing sign and it activates the axis in general. And it activates a dialogue between balance with those two. So this new moon is also speaking to a longer trajectory when it comes to how we think and feel moving into next year. And like I said, it's a pairing with the moon that we had, the full moon that we had at the beginning of this month in August. So these two are working together to give us some glimpses into what we're committing into, what we're opening into. And new moons always give us the gift of allowing us to set our intentions, get clear again, check in with ourselves, and connect with what it is we are really asking for. And in many ways, I think this moon is very supportive of that work. It's very fiery. So if you work well with fire energy, this is a fantastic moon. You're going to really enjoy it. We have the sun and moon at 26 degrees of Leo together. And they're very close to Mercury in Leo, who is at 28 degrees of Leo. So this is a very playful, flirtatious, creative, curious, childlike, joyful combo of energy. Sun, moon, and Mercury all together here. Want to have a conversation about what's going on in the world and how we're going to create and how we're going to build and just getting into that creative mode. And once again, this is a new moon, so this is all about how you want to create your life, how you want to use your heart energy to create. This is all in Leo, right? So Leo energy is associated with the heart chakra, with the blood, with love, with a very powerful electromagnetic field. And Leo energy and the heart chakra are notorious for being extremely powerful. So you're asked to tap into your authentic, loving self, your authentic creative self during this new moon. This new moon is also doing some really beautiful trining and sextiling. It's trining Mars at 24 degrees of Aries, and it's sextiling the North Node in Gemini perfectly at 26 degrees of Gemini. So Mars and the North Node are helping this moon kind of keep sailing us forward. And a lot of the ways that I see this moon, it is getting answers, it is getting confirmation, it is getting clarity, it is getting that, okay, this is the road that is right for me. This is the road that is working for me. This is the road that I need to step up and have that courage to fully become. Right? And whenever we're working with Leo energy, courage is always on the list of things that are coming up to the table to be worked with. There is one other important aspect with this new moon that I think is important to just take a moment to recognize. It's a quincunx with Saturn at 26 degrees of Capricorn. Oh, Saturn. Saturn's loving to get into our moons right now and get into a lot of aspecting with a lot of different planets. Saturn has some things to say right now in Capricorn. In these last months in Capricorn, Saturn tends to be involved somehow. And this moon is no exception. Now, quincunxes, in some ways, they can be subtler, right? They're not always as in your face as a conjunction or an opposition or a more flowing energy. But it does have one message that came really strongly to me as I felt through this new moon and as I felt through the energy of this month and this Leo season and how we're going to close it out with this new moon. And this is what the wisdom was that came through for this new moon and for this conversation with Saturn. There is an expectation, I think, somewhere that we're taught that if we just follow the outline that's given to us, whether that's to go to school, get a college degree, get married, have 2 kids, buy a house, or any other format that we're given. And there are a number of formats depending on the family, culture, background you grow up in. If we just follow that format, there will be a point where we will reach equilibrium and it will be easy and we won't have to be questioning anymore, right? But the wisdom that comes through here now is to challenge that, because no matter what path you take, if you have a fork in the road right now, or you have a question on your mind, or you have an intention you're setting or a commitment you're making that feels as though it's a little scary or overwhelming, or it's requiring courage of you, the wisdom of Saturn quincunxing this new moon is to say that no matter which path you take, you are going to have hard questions. No matter which path you take, you are going to have moments of nervousness. You're going to have moments of a little fear. You're going to have moments of overwhelm. You're going to have moments of bittersweet hellos and goodbyes, no matter which path you take. Now, this is where I love the wisdom of Saturn and where it can be really helpful. Saturn says, okay, so once you accept that life is going to have bittersweetness, it's going to have nuance, it's going to have complexity and depth, it's going to ask you to make hard choices, it's going to ask you to be courageous, and it's going to ask you to feel big, deep emotions that sometimes feel overwhelming. Once you accept that that's going to happen in life, no matter how you do it, no matter if you follow the formula or if you go outside the lines, then you can start to choose the path that is clear and right for you, because you're no longer trying to negate or find equilibrium and just choose the path that's searching out equilibrium. You're going to be choosing the path that is right for you. Now, of course, the more you choose a path that speaks from your heart, speaks from that Leonine creativity and childlike joy and curiosity, the more likely that even difficult choices or even bittersweet moments will feel in flow still and will feel supportive of you still, starts to increase. And that's what we're really looking for. But once we take the pressure off this perfect life that will no longer have weird paperwork or hard choices or a crazy schedule sometimes, and we just welcome in what is truly right for us, life just gets so much easier when we let go of that expectation. So this moon is really asking us to choose the thing that is really true for us and not just the thing that we're trying to help ourselves stay safe. Saturn isn't always about safety. I think we often think about Saturn because he's a planet of restriction and because he's about groundedness and all of that it's about playing it safe. Saturn actually has high standards and wants us to do the thing that is right for us. And sometimes that requires courage. And that's why I actually love the conversation between Saturn and this new moon, because it's not an either or situation. Often we are on the adventure that we're meant to be on. We're in the relationships we're meant to be in. We're saying yes to the work or the creativity or the options that we're meant to say yes to. And we're feeling some of that pinch of like, okay, this is a choice, this is a commitment. They can both be happening at the same time. And in fact, that's often how it feels. The mythology around you'll just be in a manic state when your life is going the way you want it to is one that I think is very misleading when you actually get to the things you're wanting in life and they're happening in your life. It feels still full of nuance. It feels still full of overwhelm. And it still feels as though you have to use your courage. In fact, often you have to use your courage more when you're on the path that is right for you. So that's what this moon is all about. I've been kind of ranting on Saturn for a long time, even though this is a very fiery, playful, jubilant, curious new moon. I'm working at shuffling my cards here. Ace of Swords. Oh yeah. That's perfect. It's very, very new moon energy going on there. Five of Pentacles. Okay. Saturn is working with us here. And we'll talk about this in just a moment. As I finish, I'm going to pull 3 today. And 3 of Wands. I love it. Okay. It makes sense to me that 5 of Pentacles is here in our conversation and that we're having a little dialogue around worth. Because that is actually another theme that comes up here for me with this new moon. This new moon is very expansive and creative, and in fact, you can see that with the Ace of Swords and the 3 of Wands. You can see the expansive clarity coming through, right? Answers coming through, opportunities coming through, opening our hearts to big, vast expanses. And I touched on this very briefly at the beginning of our talk today, but Leo energy and Aquarius energy are very important starting in December for sure and moving forward into next year and for quite a while ahead. And we're getting a little preview glimpse with this new moon of something to pay attention to in the coming years and months. And so this is a moon of clarity. This is a moon of, all right, it's time to go. It's time to connect. It's time to say yes. It's time to be in it. That's definitely clear and bright and crisp here. And I'm loving this energy for this because new moons do bring in new energy. But whenever we are asked to fully embrace what is next, we are also asked to look at anywhere where worthiness comes up as a theme, right? And I think sometimes we get a little bit scared that if we choose a path, and yes, it is going to require a little trust, a little faith. It's going to require making some choices, right? And accepting that in those choices, there are going to be days that are easy and fun and light and breezy and wonderful. And there are going to be days when the growth feels so real and raw. And we're choosing that we don't feel worthy of that whole complex journey. Maybe there's something wrong with me choosing this journey if I know that I'm going to have days where the growth is overwhelming. And I know that I'm going to have days where I don't feel courageous and I feel a little bit like, am I allowed to do this? What if I'm not worthy of a path that includes that emotive experience, right? We ask that question sometimes. And I think sometimes because we know that if we choose this thing that's truly in our heart, that we are going to have those complex days, we start to second guess this calling inside of our hearts. We start to think that because we know there's going to be nuance and hardship to it, that maybe it's wrong. Maybe there's a better way. Maybe we should hold ourselves smaller. Maybe we should avoid letting ourselves grow bigger, because if I know that I'm going to choose something and it's going to require courage and it's also going to feel a little scary, then maybe that's the wrong choice. So this conversation here is saying that voice, that 5 of Pentacles voice, is almost always ingrained in the embarkation of a big journey. And that does not negate its power. It does not negate its fullness, its rightness, its creativity, its hopefulness. It does not negate the courage it takes to live a life of love and authenticity. In fact, it's just a part of this growth cycle. And expansion, contraction, it's very normal in growth and change. And this new moon is about growth and change. This new moon is about completely activating who you are becoming and really getting into it, really committing into it. Fire energy wants to create and it wants to get into the good stuff of life. And with that kind of birthing energy comes contractions and expansions, contractions and expansions. And I think this is a perfect moon to really sit still. Welcome in, let your heart flood with the Ace of Swords and Three of Wands. You are getting clarity, you're getting answers, you're getting forward motion. Let that flood your system. And also take a moment to acknowledge any grief around how you're changing, and to notice where you may feel unworthy of all this growth, and to give that a moment to breathe. Give it a moment to be heard and released. So important during this new moon, so important during this time of expansion, to give yourself that part of the process, because you may be feeling really excited, really hopeful, really creative, curious. This is a very flowing new moon. I'm feeling this, very creative and curious, and then wonder why you still have a little bit of this sadness or this depth going on underneath. It's fine. That is normal. It is a good thing that you are experiencing that. It's much better to acknowledge that throughout your process rather than trying to suppress it and then having it hit you like a wave at some random point as you keep growing and expanding. In fact, sitting with some of this more nuanced energy can help you welcome in greater expansion more quickly. It's kind of the fool's wisdom of start at the end to start at the beginning. Or go backwards to go forward. Sometimes we think we can only grow by being in manic state, being in high positivity. But often, if we are allowing ourselves to relax into some of the unworthy thoughts or some of the nervousness around a big choice, we actually welcome in change and growth so much faster. So this moon has some nuance to it. And I think new moons do in general. We're sitting in the darkness. We're sitting with our true desires. And in doing that, we have to sit with all of us, right? I'm really excited for this new moon. Like I said, it's on my birthday, so obviously for me, this is a really symbolic moment, acknowledgement of a new cycle beginning. And it is, like I said, an acknowledgement of 2021 energy, an acknowledgement of how we are growing and changing. One last note before I close out today, because I could just talk and talk and talk, is that around the time of this new moon and this end of Leo season, Mars is really slowing down. We are getting very close to the Mars retrograde in September, starting in September. And as Mars starts to do his retrograde work, we're going to continue with themes around healing of the warrior identity, healing of the guardian, guard, hyper-vigilant, hyperactive, feeling like you have to hold yourself at tension all the time. We're going to start doing some really deep healing work around that with Mars. So this is also a sub-theme of the moon that you're not going to see it as the first thing that's coming up, but it is one part of this future moving forward. So keep that in mind. We will get into that more very soon. I hope you have a beautiful new moon. I'm wishing you all such a beautiful, renewing time. I'm going to get even deeper with this moon over on Patreon. We're going to get into some activations for that and some great tools and resources and activities that you can use during this moon. So if you're interested in deeper support, I'd love to see you over there. And I'm excited for the beginning of Virgo season as well. What an interesting season that will be. I tell you now, it's going to be very interesting. I love you all so much. I will talk to you soon, and I'm sending you